There are moments in life that divide time into a clear before and after. A single decision, a single discovery, can recalibrate your entire understanding of risk, of responsibility. For me, that moment began not with a bang, but with a quiet, unsettling stillness at the water's edge. It started with something I found, something that didn't belong, something that felt wrong, deeply wrong. The kind of wrong that sends a cold, sharp signal straight to your oldest, most primal instincts. The kind that tells you to back away slowly, to not disturb what you found, and to seek help from people who understand dangers you can't even begin to comprehend. I'd spent countless hours by this river, on it and in it. I thought I knew its moods, its secrets, its hidden contours. I was mistaken. The river had kept a secret far darker than I could have imagined, waiting silently in the cold, murky depths. And on this particular morning, it had decided to reveal a piece of it to me. The initial feeling wasn't fear, not exactly. It was a profound sense of dislocation, a heavy, pressing awareness that I had stumbled across a line I never knew existed. The world felt different. The air was suddenly thicker, the familiar sounds of the riverbank muted, as if the world was holding its breath, waiting to see what I would do next. Every instinct screamed that this was not a situation for a single person to handle. This wasn't a piece of forgotten history or a lost personal item. This was something else entirely. It carried an aura of immediate and present danger, the kind of danger that doesn't fade with the morning light, but instead seems to deepen, to solidify. The responsibility was crushing. To leave it would be unthinkable, a gross negligence I couldn't live with. But to interfere, to try and handle it myself, felt like a catastrophic mistake waiting to happen. There was only one correct course of action, and it was a step I was hesitant to take, knowing it would set in motion a chain of events I could not control. It meant inviting a world of official procedure, of scrutiny, of serious consequences into my quiet life. But the alternative was not an option. So I made the call. My voice was steady, surprisingly so, as I relayed the necessary details. But my hand trembled as I put the phone down. And then, the waiting began. Every minute stretched into an eternity. The sun began to climb higher, burning off the last of the dawn's mist. But the coldness I felt had nothing to do with the morning air. It was a deep, internal chill. I watched the water, the gentle currents swirling over the submerged, silent shape, and I wondered what I had truly set in motion. I replayed the discovery in my mind, over and over. The way the light caught it, the unnatural outline against the riverbed, the immediate, visceral reaction that had gripped me. Was I overreacting? Had I mistaken something benign for something sinister? For a moment, I hoped I was wrong. I hoped they would arrive, assess the situation with practiced eyes, and tell me it was all a misunderstanding, a false alarm, a story I could laugh about later. That hope was a fragile thing, and it didn't last long. It was shattered by the distant but unmistakable sound of approaching vehicles. Not just one, several. The sound was professional, efficient, and carried a weight that confirmed my deepest fears. This was not a false alarm. This was real. The authorities finally came. And this was more serious than I thought. The arrival itself was a study in controlled urgency. There were no sirens, no shouting. Just the quiet crunch of tires on the gravel path, the soft clicks of doors, and the low murmur of disciplined voices. They moved with a purpose that was both calming and deeply intimidating. They weren't just responding to a call, they were deploying a protocol. The first person who approached me didn't ask what I had found. He asked if I was safe. He asked if I had touched anything. His eyes weren't on me, but were constantly scanning the area, the riverbank, the water, assessing angles and perimeters I couldn't see. It was in that moment, in that first interaction, that the true gravity of the situation began to settle in. My simple act of discovery had triggered a response from a world that operates on a completely different level of risk assessment. These were professionals who deal not in possibilities, but in consequences. They saw the entire landscape as a series of potential threats and necessary precautions. While I saw a familiar riverbank, they saw an unsecured scene. While I saw a submerged object, they saw a potential blast radius, a contamination zone, a public hazard. Their questions were precise, methodical. When did I find it? What time? From what position? Did I see anyone else in the area? Every answer I gave seemed to add another layer of seriousness to their expressions. They spoke to each other in codes and acronyms, their communication seamless and efficient. A perimeter was established with an almost silent swiftness. Yellow tape, that stark universal symbol of caution, began to appear, cordoning off the familiar path I had walked just an hour before. It was a surreal experience, to be on the outside of a boundary that had been created because of me. I was no longer just a person who had found something. I was now the civilian witness, a variable that needed to be managed and kept safe. One of the team members, a woman with a calm but unyielding demeanor, explained the initial steps. They would first need to confirm the nature of the object from a safe distance. They would be deploying specialized equipment. She advised me to move back further than I thought necessary, and her tone left no room for negotiation. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command delivered with professional courtesy. As I retreated, I watched them work. The sheer amount of equipment they brought was staggering. Cases were opened, revealing instruments and tools I couldn't identify. Radios crackled with clipped, calm instructions. A drone was prepped, its quiet hum a starkly modern sound in the natural landscape. This wasn't a simple retrieval operation. This was a full-scale hazard response. The initial hope I had for a simple resolution had completely evaporated, replaced by a chilling realization. The danger was not just potential, it was presumed. Their entire procedure was built on the assumption of a worst-case scenario. And as I stood there, watching these experts meticulously prepare to deal with what I had found, a single, terrifying thought echoed in my mind. What if I hadn't made the call? What if a child had stumbled upon this? What if someone with less caution had decided to investigate on their own? The what-ifs were horrifying. The quiet river, my place of peace and solitude, now felt like a veiled threat, a place of hidden dangers I had been blissfully unaware of. The world had not changed, but my perception of it had been irrevocably fractured. The line between safety and disaster, I now understood, was terrifyingly thin, and I had been standing right on it. The seriousness wasn't just in the object itself, but in the entire chain of potential events it represented. It was in the calm, focused faces of the people now risking their own safety to mitigate a threat I had unknowingly uncovered. My role was over. I had found it, I had reported it, and now, the most important thing I could do was stay out of the way and let them handle the terrifying reality of what lay beneath the water. To understand what happened next, you need to understand the context. It wasn't a dramatic, Hollywood-style discovery. It was quiet, almost mundane, and that's what made it so unsettling. The day began like any other dive day. The location was a familiar stretch of river, a place I'd explored dozens of times before. It's a section known for its challenging conditions, but also for its hidden rewards, submerged geological formations, forgotten relics of local industry, and a surprisingly resilient ecosystem that thrives just beneath the surface. The weather topside was unremarkable. Overcast, a slight chill in the air that hinted at the changing seasons. But underwater, the environment tells a different story. The riverbed here is a complex tapestry of silt, gravel, and larger, time-worn stones. The current, while not dangerously strong, is persistent. It's a constant, invisible force that shapes the landscape below, burying some things while exposing others. It demands respect and constant awareness. My plan for the dive was simple. A routine survey of a specific quadrant, mapping out changes in the riverbed since my last visit. It's a personal project, a way to stay sharp and connected to this underwater world. I entered the water, and the cold was immediate, a familiar, bracing shock that focuses the mind. The temperature hovered just above what most would consider comfortable, a constant reminder that you are a visitor in an alien environment. Visibility was poor. That's not unusual for this river, but on this day, it was particularly challenging. Imagine moving through a thick, amber-colored fog. Light from the surface struggled to penetrate, creating a perpetual twilight. Particles of silt and organic matter hung suspended in the water, dancing in the beam of my dive light, further reducing the world to a small, illuminated bubble just a few feet in front of my face. In these conditions, your senses adapt. You rely less on sight and more on a combination of feel, sound, and an almost sixth sense for your surroundings. You listen to the rhythm of your own breathing, the muffled gurgle of the bubbles escaping your regulator. You feel the subtle shifts in the current against your body. You navigate by memory and by paying meticulous attention to your compass and depth gauge. For the first half of the dive, everything was exactly as I expected. I moved slowly, methodically, my light tracing patterns across the silt. I noted a few newly exposed rocks, a log that had shifted a few meters downstream. It was routine. It was calm. And then I saw it. Or rather, I saw the suggestion of it. At the absolute edge of my visibility, where the light from my torch faded into impenetrable gloom, a shape resolved itself from the murk. It was an outline, a silhouette that didn't belong. The river is full of debris, old tires, shopping carts, fallen trees. Your brain learns to categorize these familiar shapes almost instantly. But this was different. It had a symmetry, a manufactured quality that felt jarringly out of place in the organic chaos of the riverbed. It was partially buried, its form obscured by a thick layer of accumulated silt, which softened its edges and made a true identification impossible. My first instinct was simple curiosity, the explorer's impulse. I moved closer, my heart rate quickening slightly. Every diver knows the thrill of finding something unknown. But as I approached, another, more powerful instinct took over: caution. This was the voice of training, of countless hours spent reading case studies and listening to seasoned experts. It's the voice that reminds you that the underwater world is unforgiving of assumptions. The closer I got, the more my unease grew. The object's profile was stubbornly unfamiliar. It wasn't a barrel. It wasn't part of a car. It wasn't any of the usual suspects. The way it was settled into the silt suggested it had been there for a long time, yet it also seemed deliberate. There was an unnerving stillness about it. I stopped a few feet away, my fins hovering just above the riverbed to avoid kicking up any more silt. The urge to reach out, to brush away the sediment and reveal its identity, was immense. It's a primal human desire, to touch, to know, to understand. My hand started to move forward, almost of its own accord. But then, the warnings echoed in my mind. The cardinal rule you learn on day one: do not touch, move, or disturb unknown objects, especially those that seem out of place. You don't know what they are, what they contain, or how stable they are. A seemingly inert object could be hazardous. It could be fragile. It could be part of a larger, unseen structure. Disturbing it could have consequences you cannot predict or control, not just for you, but for the entire environment and anyone downstream. I pulled my hand back. The internal debate was over. Curiosity had to take a backseat to safety and responsibility. This was no longer a personal discovery. It was a situation that required a professional assessment. My mission immediately changed. It was no longer about exploration. It was about documentation and reporting. I checked my gauges. Air, depth, time, all were within safe limits. I needed to mark the location accurately without creating any disturbance. I deployed a small, temporary marker a safe distance away, a visual reference point that wouldn't interact with the object itself. Then, I took several careful compass bearings from the marker to prominent, permanent features on the riverbed. This triangulation would allow me or anyone else to relocate this exact spot with precision. My ascent was slow, deliberate, my mind racing through the next steps. Breaking the surface felt different this time. The familiar world of air and sky seemed charged with a new significance. Back on the riverbank, as I deep-pitted, The weight of the discovery settled in. The uncertainty was the heaviest part. What had I found? Was it dangerous? Was it nothing at all? The only thing I knew for sure was that I had made the right decision by not interfering. I pulled out my phone. My hands were still cold, slightly clumsy. I looked up the non-emergency number for the relevant authorities. I took a deep breath, rehearsing the facts clearly and calmly in my head. My location, the depth, the visibility, the compass bearings, and a description of an unidentifiable, symmetric object partially buried in the silt. After a brief conversation where I relayed the information, the instructions I received were unequivocal and firm, reinforcing the choice I had already made. They confirmed my training and my gut instinct. The message was simple: stay away, do not return to the site, and above all, do not touch it. They assured me they would take it from here. I reported the location, provided my data, and stepped back. My role in this story was over, or so I thought. The feeling was a strange mix of relief and profound apprehension. I had passed the responsibility to those better equipped to handle it, yet I couldn't shake the image of that silent, waiting shape in the gloom. The river held a secret, and I had just handed over the key. That's when professionals arrived to deal with it. They secured the area and told me to stay back. They carefully removed it from the river. And then, silence. The kind of quiet that feels louder than any noise that came before it. The thrum of the specialized equipment fades. The clipped, professional radio chatter ceases, and all that's left is the gentle lapping of the river against the bank. It's a sound I've heard 1,000 times. But today, it sounds different. It sounds like an exhale, a collective breath held for hours, finally released into the cool afternoon air. The tension that had coiled itself around this small patch of riverbank, a palpable, almost physical presence, slowly begins to unspool. It dissipates like morning mist, leaving behind a strange and profound emptiness. The team, who had operated with such intense, focused energy, now moves with a deliberate, almost serene calmness. Their actions are just as precise as before, but the underlying urgency is gone. They are packing, stowing gear, and conducting their final checks. There's no celebration, no backslapping, just a quiet, shared understanding of a job well done. A crisis averted. They are professionals in the truest sense of the word. Their demeanor a testament to the gravity of their work. They treat the aftermath with the same respect they treated the operation itself. I look at the water, at the exact spot where it all happened. From the surface, it's indistinguishable from any other part of the river. The water flows on, indifferent. But I know what was there. I know the potential that lay dormant beneath those gentle currents. And seeing that spot empty made me realize how close this could have gone wrong. That single thought isn't a fleeting one. It's a heavy, anchoring realization that settles deep in my gut. It's one thing to understand a risk intellectually, to read about it or see it in a training manual. It's another thing entirely to stand at the edge of that risk, to feel its cold proximity, and then to watch it be carefully, painstakingly dismantled. The what-ifs begin to cascade, a silent, relentless flood in my mind. What if I had been less cautious? What if my initial curiosity had overridden my training and my instinct? The urge to investigate, to uncover, is a powerful one for any diver. It's what drives us to explore. But here, it could have been a fatal impulse. What if I had tried to move it, even slightly? A single, ill-advised nudge, born of ignorance, could have initiated a chain of events that doesn't bear thinking about. It's a humbling, chilling thought. The line between a controlled situation and an uncontrollable disaster was, I now understand, terrifyingly thin. It was a line drawn by knowledge, by procedure, and by the calm authority of the experts who stepped in. And what about the next person? What if it wasn't me who found it? What if it was a teenager on a summer dare, or a family fishing from the bank? The river is a public space, a place of recreation and peace for so many. The thought that their safety was unknowingly compromised, that a hidden danger was lurking just beneath the surface, is deeply unsettling. It reinforces the immense responsibility we have, not just as divers, but as anyone who interacts with these environments. We are temporary visitors in a world that has its own history, its own secrets. Some of those secrets are benign. Others, as I've learned, are not. The lead officer from the response team walks over. There's no fanfare, just a calm, direct gaze. He gives me a simple, concise debrief. He doesn't use sensational language. He speaks in facts, in procedures. He explains that the site is now clear, that their protocols were followed to the letter, and that the area is safe. He confirms they've conducted a final sweep, both below the surface and along the banks, to ensure nothing was missed. His tone is reassuring, but it's also educational. He's not just telling me it's over, he's reinforcing the importance of the process. He thanks me for making the call, for not taking matters into my own hands. "You did the right thing," he says. Those 5 words carry more weight than 1,000 commendations. They are an affirmation of a choice that, in the moment, felt like an overreaction but was, in hindsight, the only correct and responsible decision to make. I watch as they pull down the last of the caution tape. The bright yellow plastic, which had seemed like such an aggressive intrusion just hours ago, now feels like a symbol of protection. Its removal is the final act. The official perimeter is gone, and the riverbank is returned to the public, to the deer that will leave tracks in the mud at dawn, to the fishermen who will cast their lines in the morning mist. The only remaining evidence of the day's events are the footprints in the wet sand and the tire tracks on the access path. Soon, the rain and the river will wash even those away. The landscape will hold no memory of what happened here. But I will. This place has changed for me, forever. I will never be able to look at this stretch of water the same way again. It's no longer just a familiar dive site. It's a classroom. It's a reminder of the unseen, of the potential for danger that lies hidden in familiar places. But it's also a reminder of the incredible capacity for competence, for calm, for professionalism. It's a reminder that for every potential disaster, there are people trained and ready to prevent it. People who run towards the problems the rest of us run from. My gratitude for them is immense, a deep and quiet respect for the invisible, dangerous work they do. They didn't just remove an object from the river today, they restored a sense of peace. They reinforced the fragile boundary between order and chaos, and they left me with a lesson I will carry with me on every single dive from this day forward. The river is quiet now, and in that quiet, there is a profound sense of clarity. If you ever find something suspicious underwater, don't touch it. Did I handle this the right way? Tell me what you think, and follow for the next dive.